Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's session. I'm Vanessa Chambers, and I head up our service delivery here at Martus. I'm sure that you all are very excited about this webinar. Glen will be presenting a comprehensive overview of budget management, ranging from using budget worksheets, reviewing what you can do with budget approval workflow. He'll talk about reforecasting, especially looking at mid-year reforecasts, and then take a deep dive into the process of starting a new annual budget cycle. If you have questions as he goes along, please add them with Zoom's Q&A function. I'll be answering questions there. We'll follow up individually after the session if you have questions that are specific to your particular organization. If you want to specifically request a follow-up, please note that in the Q&A. There will be a couple of polls today. Of course, we look forward to your responses. And general housekeeping, we will be sending the video and PowerPoint for this session to all registrants tomorrow. There will be a brief survey after this session. We do hope that you will respond to this survey since your detailed feedback is very helpful to us. We appreciate you taking your time to attend this webinar, and we want this session and those upcoming to be as useful as possible to you. Now, I'll turn it over to Glen.
Thanks, Vanessa. So today, we're going to dive into some important aspects of budget management, starting with worksheets. In Martus, worksheets are at the core of our budgeting process. A great place to start is the new Worksheet 2.0. Are you all looking for the next great thing? As many of you are aware, we recently introduced a better budget worksheet, and it is called Worksheet 2.0. At Martus, our goal is to make your budget life better. Worksheet 2.0 is replacing the traditional view. 2.0 comes with enhanced functionality. Let's start with a couple of features that will facilitate you quickly getting to the data you're looking for and focus on what is important. First is enhanced filtering capabilities. Now, for a really big change, all worksheet sections can be collapsed. Watch as I collapse the reference area, allowing you to get to what matters. These two changes will make you more efficient, but there is so much more. Let's look at some additional impressive features of 2.0. Note the new worksheet dropdown with new options, and new line options can also be found at the top of the worksheet screen. With all options moved to the top of the screen and the collapsing sections, scrolling on your worksheet has been greatly reduced. Here we are budgeting service, supplies, and decor. It would be great if I could see the reference data without having to scroll up to the top section. Look at what happens when I click the arrow to the left of the budget. Wow, there are 6 types of reference data directly under every budget line. Also notice the actual dollar references are blue, indicating you can drill down to the transaction level of detail. You just saw the 6 options for the reference data under each budget line. Here you see the same 6 options for reference data on the dropdown. Now, the Martus default for the reference data is prior year actual plus budget. What if you prefer 12 months trailing actuals to be your default? Did you know you can set the default reference data selection? Let me show you how. On the Budget Management tab, select a budget and select Set Default Reference Data. Then, from the pop-up screen, select your preferred default and click the green button, Set Default Reference Data. Let's look at Martus to see this in action. All right, so I am going to go to Planner, Planner Setup. And it's going to open up to the Budget Management tab. We're going to select the Board Approved Budget. And you see currently the default is 2022 actuals plus budget. I'm going to click that and then click Set Default Reference Area. And my preference is 12-month trailing actuals. And I'm going to go ahead and set that default reference data. Say OK. And you can see it's changed here. And now if we go to a worksheet, and let's pick this one right here, we will see the new default is 12-month trailing actuals. So if you have a preference, you can set that default and it'll always be the first thing that you see in terms of reference data inside of your worksheets. All right, let's go back to our PowerPoint. And the next, all right. So there are so many other little gems you'll discover as you use Worksheet 2.0. May I suggest you watch the video linked at the base of the screen, and it's also available on the resource link page at the end of this PowerPoint. Okay, now for a poll question, and let me set off that question. All right, do you want Worksheet 2.0 to be your default worksheet view? Which path will you take for your organization? Really, there's only one real clear path. And that is Worksheet 2.0. Now I'm watching the results come in. And there's quite a few people have already had the default set to Worksheet 2.0, and the majority of the rest are still using traditional, are wanting to switch to Worksheet 2.0. So thank you for your feedback. I'm gonna give this just a little bit more time to finish up. And then we'll move on to the next topic. All right, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to leave that poll open just for a little bit, and we're going to move on. Okay, so did you know there are 5 methods of inputting your worksheet budget data? The first is direct entry. It is the only method that requires clicking the save button, and we do that on purpose so that as you're making changes, you can decide whether that's what you want. You can back out of it, or you can save it. Yet, even though this is a manual process, it is a great option if you just want to update a few cells. Our second input method is initialization, or to initialize. It allows you to quickly populate all worksheet lines based on prior year actual dollars or prior year budget dollars. And just know that you can choose month by month which option you want. You can also initialize a subset of your worksheet budget lines by using the line actions initialize option. One example of when to use initialize is when you have a new blank budget worksheet. Once you create your budget lines with the load option, then you can quickly populate budget dollars with the initialize option. It is best practice to enter your budget dollars directly in Martus. On a rare occasion, it may make sense to use Excel for your worksheet entry. The third method of data entry is accessed from the Worksheet Actions menu. you can export the worksheet to Excel, make changes in Excel, and then import your revised data back into Martus. Once again, it is best practice to enter your budget directly in Martus, and we give you plenty of options of how to do that with a lot of functionality, but there may be cases where it makes sense to use this third method. The fourth input method is the budget widget. There is a separate budget widget, as you see here, for each budget line on your worksheet. This is a quick method of input with an expanded variety of options under Worksheet 2.0. Budget notes entered on the budget widget flow to your worksheet along with the budget dollars. The fifth option for data entry is special purpose worksheets. This allows for input of numerous components that flow into one or more budget lines. You can add notes and use Excel-like formulas. We will look at SPWs in a bit more detail later in this presentation. For now, let's go to Martus to walk through data entry. And here we are back at Martus, and we are going to go to Planner and then Worksheets, and we're already there. We're collapse the reference section. So we get down to the budgeted dollars, and let's demonstrate the 5 methods of data entry. So the first method is manual. So we can come here and we could change this to 225 and change this to 120, etc. And then scroll to the right and I can hit save. Manual entry is the first method. The second method is initialize. So when we come up here, I'm going to go ahead and collapse that so we get some more real estate, is you can initialize all of the budget lines that you have down below based on actual dollars from the prior year or budget dollars from the prior year. And what's nice about this is you can say, I want a 10% increase over last year, or I only want to see 90% of what was recorded last year, either actual or budget, and you can do that on a month-by-month basis. But it's also nice to know that you can initialize specific lines. So I can come over here and I can say, I only want to initialize these 2 lines, go to your line actions and hit initialize there. And now you're only doing selected lines, but the same functionality is there. You're just doing for a subset of your budget lines. Nice, quick, easy way to populate data or even update what's already there. All right, the third method is Excel. We've already shown this in the PowerPoint, but you can export your worksheet, make changes, turn around and re-import it. The fourth option is a very popular budget widget. You see the budget widget icons here for most of these lines, except for the line controlled by an SPW. All right, so let's click on one. We'll click on this. We'll pick on this line again. And you can see that we have a lot of options here. But let's just say that we were going to budget $25 a week. Set on weekly. And I'm going to hit preview. And I'm going to put a comment here, $25 per week. And I'm going to copy that down. And we're going to go ahead and hit save. Come back to here. Because it's in blue, it lets us know that there are notes. And as we scroll across, we see the notes on each month popping up. All right. So now I also want you to know that we can override a budget widget amount directly in the worksheet. Now let's go back to our budget widget. Oh, actually, there's one other thing I wanted to show you before I forget. We mentioned the reference area. So I'm going to come down here, open up the reference area. And did you know that you can populate your budget widget from the reference area? So this is telling us this is what we're currently using. But let's say I wanted to use this instead. I could come here and hit this budget widget icon, and it's going to populate those numbers from actuals plus budget. And then I can just click preview. Now, all of a sudden, these notes don't make sense anymore. But I can quickly populate from the reference area my budget widget for preview, and then preview it, have my dollars, and then I could hit save. Now let's just talk about these options really quick. Is weekly will post the amount you put 4 or 5 times a month, depending on how many weeks. Bi-weekly is 2 or 3 times a month. Monthly is every month. Quarterly is every 3rd month. Annual will take your amount, let's say it's $1,200. It's just going to divide it by 12. But let's say we didn't want to start until October. It's still going to divide that by 12 and start in October. And we're going to hit preview, and you can see that's exactly what it did. Divided by 12 and put in starting in for the date range we selected. And then we have adjustments, additional amounts, allocation. I'm a big fan of. So if we have whatever we have shown here, and we can change it month by month, or we can set it for all months. If there's an amount I want to allocate, all I do is put the amount, choose allocation, hit preview, and it takes that $12,000 and allocates in the same percentage that we're showing here. And then any rounding goes in the final month, which you could move that if you wanted to. All right, so that is your budget widget. So I'm going to close that. The 5th option is special purpose worksheets. Note that for this one, for this worksheet, we have a worksheet, special purpose worksheet attached to this worksheet, and we have a global special purpose worksheet attached to this worksheet. We will look at this more in a little bit. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. All right, here we are back to PowerPoint. Now, let's look at the budget approval workflow setup. And the first step in that is assigning owners and approvers to the appropriate worksheets. This is accomplished on the Worksheet Management tab of Planner Setup. Select one or more worksheets. So we're on Worksheet Management. Select one or more worksheets. In this case, I selected one. And then click Update Owners and Approvers. And it brings up the pop-up that provides you 3 options. Let's click on Assign Users. Here you select one owner and one or more approvers. One owner and one or more approvers. The owner is a person primarily responsible for the worksheet and submitting it when it's complete. The approvers will approve or decline in any order. Emails are sent with each and every action. Keep in mind that you should review your owners and approvers each year for changes in staff. To remove an approver, select Remove Approver, and then select which or all of the approvers that you want to remove. Let's go to Martus and take a quick look at this owner approver setup. And here we are back at Martus. And we are going to Planner Setup. And we're going to go to the Worksheet Management tab. One step left of the Budget Management tab. And we're going to select this worksheet right here, and we're going to update owners and approvers. And we can assign users here, so we can select a owner. We can select one or more approvers, and we could click update. And that gives us some feedback. Also know that we can, of course, remove owners or remove approvers. It is that simple. It really is simple. You can do a number of worksheets at one time. It's that simple to set up your owners and approvers. Keep in mind that you can select multiple worksheets when assigning owners and approvers. Back over to the PowerPoint. Now that owners and approvers are set up, we can explore the workflow. Let's start with the scenario where there's an owner, but no approvers are associated with the budget worksheet. Once the worksheet prepared, usually the worksheet owner clicks submit, the worksheet is locked, and the status changes to submitted. The process is complete. What happens when the owner clicks submit and there is an approver associated with the worksheet? Well, the worksheet is still changed to locked, because anytime a worksheet is submitted, it gets locked. But now emails are sent and the status becomes waiting for approval because there is an approver. Taking this to the next step, what happens if the approver denies or declines the worksheet? Well, an email is sent back to the owner, and an admin will need to unlock the worksheet for the owner to make changes. In most environments, it's the admin that would have to unlock the environment, but of course, every environment's different, and you can give non-admin rights to unlock worksheets. But out of the box, it's the admin. What happens if the worksheet request is approved? If there is only one approver, the status becomes fully approved. Emails are sent, and the workflow is complete. Lastly, if there are multiple approvers and one of the approvers approves the worksheet, then the status is changed to partially approved. Once all approvers approve, then the status becomes fully approved and the workflow is complete. Now, how do you keep track of the status of the workflow for all of your worksheets? The worksheet status report is a one-stop shop for everything related to your budget worksheets. Here you see the budgeted gain loss, any target that's associated with your worksheet, owners, approvers, and the status for each worksheet. Now you have access to each worksheet through the edit link, and you have access to the approval details through the details link. Let's go to Martus and take a look. All right, so now I'm going to Planner Summary, and we're going to use the drop down to get to the worksheet status report. And we are going to filter by location equal Albany and fund equal unrestricted. and load that. Okay, so you can see the budgeted net gain loss, the target, the owners, the approvers, and the status. Now, while we're here, let's look at the status dropdown. We can put each of these statuses in one of two buckets. They're either unlocked and available for editing, or they're locked. The open status is the only status where the worksheet is unlocked and available for editing. All other statuses are locked. All right, so let's go back to the PowerPoint. We have discussed special purpose worksheets on previous webinars, but let's take a high level review. There are three types of special purpose worksheets: worksheet special purpose worksheets, global SPWs, and template SPWs. Worksheet SPWs are created from a worksheet and are typically accessed from that worksheet. They are worksheet specific in that they can only ever impact the one worksheet, but are available to everyone that has access to that worksheet. Lastly, SPW templates can be pulled into worksheet SPWs. Let's talk a little bit about global SPWs. They are accessed from the Planner SPW menu. They are out of the box admin functionality, but access can be granted to non-admin users. Their unique capability is they can impact multiple worksheets. This provides the ability to allocate non-personnel budget dollars. And budget dollars posted from a global SPW cannot be overridden at the worksheet level, allowing admin users to post budget dollars that cannot be changed by the budget owner if that budget owner does not have access to global SPWs. Now, lastly, template SPWs are accessed from the Planner SPW menu. They are strictly restricted to Martus admin users. They are a section of SPW code that can be imported into worksheet SPWs, and updates to a template SPW can be posted to any worksheet that uses that template. There are a lot of reasons to use special purpose worksheets. We covered many of these in a previous webinar, so I'll let you review the slide at your convenience. Here's a clickable link to an earlier webinar where we walk through a detailed SPW example. This slide will be included on the PowerPoint sent to all registrants, or you can search webinar in the Martus database. I'm sorry, in the Martus knowledge base. All right, next topic. Now for another poll question. So let me go ahead and start this poll question. All right, to review, there are worksheet SPWs, global SPWs, and SPW templates. They are a popular Martus feature, but we want to know how you use them. So we'll let this poll run for a little bit. We've already got half of the respondents in. And almost everyone's using worksheet SPWs. About a third are using globals. and a smaller percent using templates. And of those that are not using them, a majority want to learn more. So we really appreciate your feedback. I'm going to leave that poll on for a little bit more, and we're going to move on to the next topic. Having up-to-date financials and a current budget are important to any organization. It is also important to have access to forecast tools that take you beyond the standard budget. Martus offers several options. The first of three forecast options is the forecast report. It combines actual dollars through the last closed month and budget dollars for all future months. This financial snapshot is then compared to your dashboard default budget, giving you a picture of where you stand year to date. This is a great report, but many of you have asked for the ability to customize this and other reports. Well, we listened. Do you know that Martus will soon be releasing a report builder? I do not want to overdo it, but this requires a little bit of a celebration. The new report builder, once released, will allow you to build reports to your specification. One of the many templates in the report builder is an enhanced forecast report that you can use as is or copy and modify. Here's the out-of-the-box enhanced forecast report, but let's zoom in on the right side. Note the enhanced level of analysis as compared to the standard forecast report. Even to the point where we're showing the 2 months of actuals and then the total for the remaining 10 months with a grand total. You can edit any report builder report. Just imagine how you could refine this report to meet your organization's specific needs. Note that the rows and columns can be edited. To give you a taste, let's look at a few of the column options. And then expand the column types. And then if we choose formula, yes, you can write formulas on the rows or the columns. We will be taking a deep dive into the new report builder on our next webinar. It has not officially been released yet, but let's take a quick sneak peek at the new report builder inside of Martus. All right, so we're going to dashboard, report builder, and you will see there's a number of templates. As a user, as you create reports, they show up here and reports can be shared. But for right now, let's just look, since we're talking about forecast, at the enhanced forecast report. It is one of many templates. And it does show you actuals through the last closed month and then budget dollars for the remainder of the year, just as the standard forecast report does. But now it takes you further. It gives you a total of just your actual dollars. Then it gives you a total of the budget dollars, together giving you a grand total projection. Then we have groups of columns to the right that compare this projected total to two different budgets. First to the current dashboard budget, and then to your planner budget. Both comparisons show the amount and percentage of the variance to this projection. Now, if you want to make changes on this, it is easy to do. We'll just scroll back to the left. And it says it's a template, but know that we can click Save As, give it a name, and click OK. And now this is going to bring up a version of the report builder that I can edit myself. So I'm going to put it in edit mode. And now I can edit the rows, or I can edit the columns. There's also a settings for the overall report. And if I scroll to the right, I just want to point out, since this is just a quick sneak preview, we can calculate based on formulas. We have a number of options, and we can change the header, we can change the number format, we can change how the signs look, and we can put in formulas such as this, including being able to calculate, we're not doing it on this report, but we could, the percentage of each GL account of total income. So this opens up a whole new world of reporting inside of Martus. And I'm really excited for the next webinar where we can dive deep and show you how it works. But for now, we're going back to the PowerPoint. All right, the forecast report was Martus's first forecast option. It is a point in time presentation of your data. The second forecast option in Martus is a detailed forecast budget where you load actual dollars through the last closed month of a planner budget. The first step is to make a copy of your planner budget. In this case, we called the copy 2023 Reforecast budget and then selected it. And then you would click Load Actuals, which I'm going to do, which brings up a pop-up box. And we're going to go ahead and click that. The Reforecast budget gives you a detailed budget that combines actual and budget dollars. It also freezes any months that were actual dollars, where actual dollars were loaded. So I have some tips for you. Tip number one, later, if you want the actual dollars updated, you must run load actuals a second time on this budget. Tip number two, many Martus clients use this Reforecast budget as a starting point for their budget in the new year. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Tip number three, Reforecast budgets are often compared to your base budget using the side-by-side budget comparison report. Now you can also compare it to other budgets using the new report builder. Or I should say, soon you will be able to compare it to other budgets using the new report builder. Here's a selection, here's a section of a Reforecast budget with actual dollars in July and August. Note that all worksheets are frozen for the actual dollar months of July and August. The third forecast method is the forecast module. It is designed to be a high-level and quick method to predict the future based on scenarios, future years, or future months in the current year. While the forecast budget on the previous screen was in detail, this forecast module is created at a very high level with a limited number of dimensions, allowing you to quickly create a forecast of the future. Now, please see forecast module links on the reference links page later in this presentation or for a demonstration video that walks through this forecast module process and how to build them. Today, we have mentioned locked budgets and frozen budgets. This would be a good time to review the difference. Let's look at each of these. First, we'll look at locked. As we mentioned earlier, when a budget worksheet is submitted, it gets locked. Locked may apply to a subset of worksheets, but any locked worksheet is locked for all months of the fiscal year. So what does frozen mean? Months are frozen when actual dollars are loaded into a budget. The frozen status affects all worksheets, but only for the months with actual dollars in it. So as a review, lock applies to all months of specific worksheets. Lock applies to all months of specific worksheets, while frozen applies to all worksheets for specific months. All right, our last big topic. You did a great job with your organization's budget this past year, but a new year is fast approaching. What steps should you take to create a plan of budget for the new year? Martus provides options to roll your budget from one year to the next. Let's walk through the possibilities. When creating a budget for the new year, you have a few options. First is the framework option, where you copy all the budget worksheets with owners and approvers and targets, but none of the budget lines and none of the budget dollars. This is zero-based budget concept, where all budget owners start with no budget dollars. Now, the load button allows the user to quickly create budget lines based on the reference area lines. Then initialize, which we discussed earlier, can be used to populate these budget lines. A second option in the new year is to make an exact copy of an existing budget based on prior year budget, with all the budget lines and all the budget dollars, all the SPWs, owners, approvers, everything. The third method for creating a budget in the new year is to pull in a reforecast budget that uses the most recent actual dollars. Let's go to Martus. One last time. All right, so we are going to go to Planner and Planner Setup. And let's say that we want to create a budget for fiscal 2024 for this organization. So what I am going to do is I'm going to go to 2024 and I'm going to click load. And we're going to select the budget. Oh, we're not going to select the budget. We're going to create a budget. We want to create a brand new budget in 2024. So bring up the pop-up and we want to base on the prior year's budget. And you will see that we have the three options. Well, we're going to select the 2023 reforecast budget to base it on, which has a combination of actuals and budget. But I'm going to call this my base budget. And what would happen if we say framework only? Well, this copies all the owners, approvers, and worksheets, but none of the budget lines and none of the budget dollars. This allows each budget owner to start from scratch, yet it's easy to add budget lines with the load option on the worksheet dropdown, and you're familiar with the 5 methods of input to input your budget data. But in this case, initialize is often the best option to get started, because it allows you to enter that data quickly. Let's take a quick look at the framework budget. So I'm going to just close this just for a second and let us, here, I'll tell you what, I'm going to duplicate this tab really quick. and I am going to go to summary. And then worksheet status. In 2024. And quickly look at this framework budget. And we're going to edit this just to show you what it would look like. It really looks like when you create a brand new worksheet, you have a reference data, but no budget lines. So you can, in this case, quickly hit load, and will load based on what's in the reference area. And obviously you can see the reference area in 6 different ways. And you could come here and say load, which will load your lines. But yet there's no budget data, but I can initialize that based on prior year actuals or prior year budget or some combination thereof, and change the percentage and just hit set values. And just like that, and I didn't pick the best option there. Maybe I would have been better with initialize and use budget and set values and say, okay. All right, with that being said, we're going to go back to our 2024 where we're creating a budget. That was creating a budget based on the framework. The second option would be to copy all budget values. So in essence, it will make an exact copy of the budget from the prior year. Whether that's a reforecast budget, original base budget, it's going to make an exact copy of it. Now, tip, when you do this, when you make this copy all budget values, one of the things that's going to happen is all SPWs in that budget from the prior year will post in the new year. In general, that's a good thing, but it's important to know that that's going to happen, especially if you're sitting here taking a reforecast budget. Because with a reforecast budget, well, I've got actuals, in this case, in 2 months for July and August. Do I want those SPWs to fire and overwrite my actuals? Maybe yes, maybe no. But we give you an option when you're bringing in a reforecast budget that contains actual dollars. We have the third option, which is to copy all budget values, but preserve those values for through the last close month so that your actuals don't get written over, your actual dollars are preserved, and then post SPWs only in the remainder of the year. All right, let's go back to our PowerPoint. All right, lastly, once a new year budget is complete, there are some best practices that I would like to bring to your attention. First, lock your budget when it is not being worked on, but especially once it is completed. You do not want your budget to be changed without your knowledge. Second, set appropriate dashboard and planner budget defaults. Third, once your budget is complete, upload it to your accounting system. See the document link, checklist for new fiscal year, for additional details on these best practices. As mentioned earlier, here are some clickable resource links that lead to relevant knowledge-based articles. All right, let me hand the microphone over to Vanessa for some parting thoughts.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Glenn. And thanks to all of you who attended this session. We hope that you learned some fun and very useful things about Martus. Of course, we always want to thank you for choosing Martus. We're proud to be a part of your toolbox for working to fulfill the mission of your organization. And I want to let you know, Glenn mentioned this, but we do have an additional webinar coming up in a few weeks. The next one is super exciting to us because it's an introduction to our new report builder tool, which will be rolling out at the end of this month. And again, thanks for your time. Please feel, excuse me, please feel free to reach out to us at any time with questions or for more information.